Poultry producers are warning consumers to expect higher prices for chicken products ahead of the festive season. And this is as the country grapples with what some poultry farmers are describing the biggest outbreak of avian or bird flu in South Africa. This highly infectious avian influenza was first recorded in the Western Cape back in April. That virus has now spread to KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, Gauteng and Limpopo.
And earlier we spoke to Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development Department Animal Production and Health Chief Director, Dr. Mike Modisane.
I must say this H7 in particular is a relatively new strain. But we have had outbreaks of H5 before and had continued to. We actually got the outbreak in early summer. It stopped for a while and then it came back this winter in the Western Cape. But the H7, it's a relatively new virus for South Africa.
And how different is it from the previous strains that we've seen? What are some of the material differences you're noticing?
Well, as you could hear, we're speaking about the H5 and the H7, and we categorize the H5s because of the proteins, the genetic makeup of the virus itself. The H5 kills almost 100% if it is highly pathogenic of the birds that are infected, but this H7, it's not killing as many as 100%, but maybe approximately 40% of the birds. But unfortunately, it is spreading insidiously amongst the poultry farmers.
And from a department's perspective, I mean, one thinks about the fact that this will have definitely a ripple effect on the farms themselves and the farmers who are now having to deal with this particular unfolding situation. Let's talk about some of the stories as a department that you've had to hear and to try and get involved to try and assist.
Yes, the farmers will definitely be hit very hard. But the H7 that is currently infecting the country is unfortunately in a sector that is very significant because it is now affecting breeding birds, breeders for our broiler chickens and breeders for our layer chickens, which in the end will have a significant impact on the egg supply and then also on the meat supply because there won't be enough chickens produced from the breeding birds themselves. The H5 that we had, H5N1 in particular, had been more on the laying hens, of course, with a potential to affect the breeding hens too. So basically, all the long-lived birds are being impacted from both angles, from the layers, from the breeders' side.
So we see concerns around 4 provinces, that is Gauteng, the Mpumalanga, Limpopo and the Northwest, and also, of course, in fact, also touching on the Western Cape as well. How bad is it in terms of the rest of the country, as you say that it's spreading quite rapidly?
It is spreading quite rapidly. It's spreading quite rapidly, and the farms that are infected at this moment, or the areas that are affected at this moment, are the areas that have got huge concentrations of birds. And as you described, Gauteng has got quite a big number of birds. Limpopo and Northwest have got quite a number of breeding farms. Initially, there were only approximately 7 farms that were infected, but we are now seeing a number as high as 50, especially for the H7 And for the H5, we are currently seeing around 10 farms, mainly in the Western Cape and some parts of KwaZulu-Natal.
And this is likely to drive up, demand when it comes to the consumers, and maybe we might even see, no doubt, some of the price increases there when it comes to some of the poultry products. How do you then plan as government to try and come in here to be able to assist?
First thing, what we are doing as government, we are assisting industry in terms of importing fertile eggs to come to the country for hatching purposes, to be able to produce our broilers and then also our layers to reduce the impact of the disease. But secondly, government at this moment is considering using appropriate vaccines that, with agreement with industry and a proper scientific justification, can be registered. The department has committed that it will expedite the registration of these vaccines as soon as they are evaluated properly by the Medicines Registration Authority with the Department of Health.
All right, let's see then, just how far do those interventions go towards ensuring that the sector here is cushioned? Because, as you say, the blow seems to be spreading quite rapidly. This particular strain, that is, you're saying you're still trying to also get a little more detail on, is spreading. But thank you so much for talking to us about that. And I'm sure a lot of South Africans interested in this particular conversation. That was Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development Department, Animal Production and Health Chief Director, Dr. Mike Modisane.